a lot of Americans, even within your own party, would like a president who brings the country together. What in the Ted Cruz record or positions do you think would appeal to Democrats? And how do you argue, I'm a guy who could get elected and bring the country together?
Well, Mark, that's a great question. And I would note the very first point I made in my remarks today is that we need to reassemble the Reagan coalition. We need to bring together all of the different parts that comprise the big tent.
What about liberals who, if you got elected president, you'd be their president? What would you say to them?
Well, but listen, they're different elements. So you've got, for example, you've got to bring together conservatives and libertarians who've got differing views but shared values.
I just want to be clear on my questions. That's the Reagan coalition, and there's no doubt that you've got to appeal to them. What would your message be to liberals in the country who say, I'm going to be president of everybody? How will you get them to be supportive of the Cruz agenda?
I'll tell you, listen, diehard liberals who are ideological, I think are unlikely to be part of an agenda, a coalition. But I'll tell you who will be are the Reagan Democrats. And the Reagan Democrats, working class men and women, union members, Catholics up and down the Rust Belt, who in the last 6 years, working men and women have been hammered. And I think the key for us winning is to run a populist campaign for hardworking men and women.
I'll just try one more. I'm not asking your coalition to get elected. I'm saying if you got elected president, you'd be president of every American, including tens of millions of liberals.
Right.
What's your message to that Americans who say, I may not want those liberals Ted Cruz to agree with the liberals, but I want him to be able to lead them?
Look, the principles that I'm fighting for are, number one, bringing back jobs and economic growth and opportunity, so that the single mom who's waiting tables, the teenage immigrant like my dad washing dishes at 50 cents an hour can climb the economic ladder and achieve the American dream. Number two, defending our constitutional rights, including even the constitutional rights of liberals to say things that don't make any sense, but I will fight for their right to keep saying it. And finally, restoring America's leadership in the world. One of the reasons why so many millions of FDR Democrats became Reagan Democrats, even though they had voted Democrat for generations, is because they didn't like America receding from the world under Jimmy Carter. We're doing the same thing, and there are a lot of independents, a lot of Democrats in this country.
Maybe some liberals even.
Maybe even some liberals that are worried when the President of the United States expresses hostility and antagonism to the nation of Israel. We need a president that stands with Israel. We need a president that stands up to ISIS, that stands up to Iran, that doesn't roll over to Russia. And I think those are all issues. Every one of the ones I mentioned is not a 51% narrow issue. Those are 60, 70, 80% issues that unite us.